feminism's pretty much done a really big disservice to women trying to have healthy and happy relationships. It's stigmatised emotional attachment as a disease to be avoided. I'm sure you've heard the phrase, don't catch feelings. I think that's one of the most reprehensible things to tell anyone ever. It encourages them to amass a body count higher than most serial killers. And even though when they settle down, they often rely on like the Californication of, we have to have relationship couples therapy, and if something's going wrong, it's definitely not my fault. Today we're going to look at some of the worst dating advice given by mainly middle-aged women in press outlets in the UK who are just venting about their own failed relationships, and just to say how not to love your husband. And I thought, considering we have an authentic adult human female in the chair, I can't be accused of misogyny. Great stuff! Can't wait. If you'd like to learn more damages the sexual revolution's done, you can go and subscribe to the website where you can listen to Harry and I going through Louise Perry's book, The Case Against the Sexual Revolution. And we will be getting Louise in the studio at some point to talk to her about these findings. But I have found specifically that women talking to women about this issue gives a lot more credence, because let's be fair, women will always say the men don't listen to us, and we will always say our wives don't listen to us. So there is a language barrier between the sexes. So it's very useful for Louise to write about this sort of stuff, isn't it? So let's go to the first one, shall we? Don't follow this woman's advice, but it is popular on TikTok. I'm dating so many men, I need an Excel spreadsheet to organise my love life. And I wouldn't mind. She's not exactly Cameron Diaz in The Mask, is she? A woman has gone viral with a highly organised dating strategy, creating an Excel spreadsheet to keep track of her love interests with detailed notes and photos of each of them. A TikTok user, I'm not going to read her out, don't want the publicity, shared her dating tracker, as she calls it. It's a detailed document stating with a slate of checkable boxes listing classifications from new to the mix, it's all over, all the way to we made it. The spreadsheet also includes notes and stats for each guy, including name, insider nickname, phone number, photo, age and profession. A red tab is used to keep track of her no's, all of the fellows she's totally rejected, while an orange tab keeps track of those that are, quote, just friends. If she and a potential match have great conversation, she'll decide to meet up in real life, then after the date, she'll document how it went with detailed notes on where the date took place and what she did and didn't like. The video is striking a chord, raking in more than 2 million views. My 61-year-old best friend did this 30 years ago and was dating 10 men at one point, one user commented, such a queen. Should we celebrate this complete detachment of emotional investment in someone?
Well, I mean, who's got the bloody time to do this? You know, sort of back in the day when I was single. And by the way, what's interesting, while I remember it, is I've been married twice. So I got married in my late 20s, and then obviously to my darling, my late husband Terry, who passed away at the end of 2018. A lot of people, women I know, who were sort of, I'm new, you know, when in my late 20s, there are a lot of people who were married. Now, when I look at, especially comedians, especially sort of people in the the same industry, not married, not in a sort of a long-term relationship, and I find that quite strange. But I do think it's because of women like this, and they're not helping. I mean, imagine having an Excel spreadsheet. Imagine, you know, you go and meet someone, you think, right, hi, nice to meet you. Oh, sort of before we start, can I just... Actually, it wouldn't be a pad.
What's your blood type?
It would be an iPhone. Look at me with my old school.
Well, I do think, in the fact that misery loves company, this is clearly someone who can't form a long-term attachment. Yeah. However, lots of women are being sold this grass is greener lie of, you can have all the men in the world, you can multi-date, you can enjoy this fleeting attachment to you while you'll get it. The thing is, it's a long and lonely number of years if you haven't found someone, if you've never had that love, whether or not it was unfairly taken from you, of course. Yeah. It's very different to never be able to commit to someone. Yeah. And I just think that... And also, I'm sorry, but women nowadays are far too fussy. I mean, it's like... I remember actually Terry saying to me, God, women nowadays, it's like, you're too tall, you're too short, your hair's the wrong colour, you eat in a certain way, you do this, it's like this. And it's like guys... You are pricing yourself out of ever having a mate. Did you see the OkCupid data where it was like 80% of women are only going for 20% of men? So they say 80% of men are below attractiveness. And I do think the standards have been skewed by things like Instagram and things like that.
And also, I hate the word. I remember putting it on Facebook and getting a load of abuse for it, saying, this term incels. Yeah. It's like there are guys who, how dare women sort of go, who are you? Why do you want to have a date? Why do you want to have a sort of sexual, life?
Why are you attracted to me?
Yeah, why are you attracted to me? It'll go away. And it's basically these guys who are sort of like Jordan Peterson says, sort of like, well, they're sort of confused because it's like, well, hang on a minute, because I'm straight and I find that woman attractive. Yeah. Why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
I'll ask them out.
Yeah, it's not unfair.
Why wouldn't
It's
I
not
go
unfair
after
to
them
disenfranchise me just because I'm doing my best. Like some
Yeah.
guys aren't putting the effort in, and you should,
Yeah.
lads, go to the gym,
Yeah.
etc. Make yourself someone worthy of dating. But
Yeah.
there are also women out there who are very conceited, very entitled, who lord their sexuality over other people, and then
Yeah.
the unfortunate thing is they wonder why they're very lonely and embittered and feminist down the line. The interesting thing you say about that is as well, the threshold for female investment and male investment in a date is completely different, and that's why this approach doesn't work, because most women I've found won't agree to a date unless they already have a sort of pre-existing attraction to the guy. Like he's already auditioned well enough.
Yeah.
Whereas most guys will ask for a date at a lower threshold. So he'll go,
Yeah.
she seems pretty and nice, I'll buy her a drink. Whereas
Yeah.
most women won't agree to a date until they go, oh, he's in shape, he's got like nice wallet, nice car, he talks
Yeah.
smooth, and that's totally fine. So therefore, if that's the natural disposition, why go on a million dates at once?
Yes.
It's not going to be conducive to a long-term happiness strategy. Absolutely not.
It's very and also it's very cold and calculating. Like I said, sort of back in the day, when things were, I think normal. You'd be in a bar, you'd be in a club, you'd be in a restaurant, you'd meet friends of friends at parties.
Yeah.
Do people still have house parties?
Yeah, occasionally.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Occasionally?
Not during lockdown, but yeah.
No, yeah. Oh, that's another thing as well. That's
Yeah.
totally ruined.
Student
the young
lifestyle as
people,
well, yeah.
which makes me absolutely furious. That people should have been out clubbing, meeting people, at uni, doing doing enjoyable things, intimate things with each other, because that's what life. That's what life is. That's and also, to be honest with you, women are in competition with other women for men. Sorry to state a biological fact, but
That's
it's
what
true.
I think a lot of this is.
you
Female
think?
intersexual competition. I think a lot
okay.
of it is... Because the women that were writing Cosmo magazine, for example, telling loads of women to sleep around, have abortions, never get
Yeah.
married, they were
Yeah.
all married. And so it's taking women out of the eligible dating pool. I think it's a
Right.
very snide strategy by some very insecure women.
Yeah. Because women are, we're crafty, crafty.
I have unfortunately experienced that firsthand.
Yeah.
If we go on to the next one, again, this is women not understanding why men, as you said with the incel thing, why men kind of give up after first chance. We're kind of simple. We kind of take you quite literally. We kind of take you at your word. Please don't play games, because some girl tweeted out, no, the guy I kept rejecting me finally moved on. There's a bunch of women in the replies going, that's how you know he wasn't serious in the first place. Why did he give up? If you repeatedly reject someone, we're going to take you at your word?
Yeah, I would highly recommend a film, Hollywood, before they became woke,
Right.
called He's Just Not That Into You. It is magnificent. And if people knew that, if a man wants a second date, he'll ask you.
Yeah.
Or he'll sort of maybe, like the next day, sort of go, oh, you left. I'll tell you the classic thing, little tip. If a man leave, like you're out or whatever, and then leave something, he wants to see you again. That's no accident.
Yeah, a girl stole a Santa hat at a Christmas party of mine and put a phone number in my phone, and I was like, I'm not that bothered, I'll let her take the hat. So, it's true, it does work.
Brutal.
I'm sure
But,
she was nice. She just
it's
wasn't-
like you just can't sort of mess. You knew that wasn't going to happen. So
Yep.
why? I love this. It's suddenly turned into the Abby Roberts and Connor Donaldson dating show.
You're familiar with the podcast The Lotus Eaters, where we give
Yes.
sermons all the time.
Yes, wonderful.
People appreciate it. We need it in this
Yeah.
day and age. People are too
Yeah.
atomised. Like Gen Z are having less sex than ever, so it's not exactly great, is it?
Yeah,
if-
and those advert was it Lynx? One of the ads where it was awful. They did they basically had men looking at
Gillette.
women. Just it, Gillette,
Yeah.
walking down the street and not. It's like that is absolutely outrageous, because I know there would have been men, so maybe 15, 16 going, oh God. I better not look at her, because if I find her, oh God, she might think I find her attractive.
I don't want to be accused of the wrong thing.
Precisely.
Yeah. So you're neutering men's ability to engage in that kind of
Engage,
play. Yeah.
yes, and be biologically male.
Yeah, and you also should be allowed to make a mistake. Like if you make an awkward pass, okay,
Yeah.
it's down to the woman to rebuke that and say no. You should be allowed to be a bit awkward and learn and get
Yeah.
better. But we're not even allowing men to make mistakes.
Women, by the way, making awkward passes.
Oh yeah.
Or doing, there was one time I was very drunk and someone said I was like an octopus. That my arms were everywhere. And you live and learn.
Yep. Yeah. When the lady petrol gets flowing. So if you do find Mr. Right, don't follow this woman's advice. I tried to reboot my relationship in 7 days. Here's what's happened. So this is very middle class. And they actually pose for photos for this article, which I can't believe
dear
after
God.
reading it. And he does
Yeah.
look like a kept man.
He looks like a cuck.
Yeah.
Is that Toby Young?
What, the dog at the front?
I can hear some laughter.
So I actually couldn't believe this article when I read it. So we'll go through some of it. And this is like women, the modern version of Mrs. Dalloway or A Doll's House, basically just telling you all marriage is evil, okay?
Yeah.
My partner and I will never divorce. We're not married. However, as we stagger towards the 8-year mark, Terence and I have been subjected to, if it's not 7-year itch, then it's a certain energyless exasperation. There's actually apparently an evolutionary psychological theory of if you stay with someone really long without actually committing to them or having kids, your body doesn't know the difference between won't have kids and can't have kids. So you start distancing yourself from someone because your evolutionary drive is saying they might not be able to.
Yeah.
So that's quite an interesting
And
phenomenon.
if you're in a relationship and it goes on longer than, well, a long time, it's because the man isn't sure.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
ladies out there.
It's true.
But he's hedging his bets.
Yeah, that's why women should have higher standards for investment. Don't sleep with them on the first date. Maybe.
Yeah.
I suppose I'm a misogynist for
The
that.
second is all right.
On our most recent holidays, he was enraged by my spendthrift ways. I spent £8.95 on a charity shop puffer jacket, and I decided not to eat his student-style pasta at every meal by occasionally dining out. Meanwhile, I interpreted his attempts at non-stop micromanagement less as the sharing of valuable life skills than as gaslighting. So she's already writing about how she hates him, right?
Yeah.
She got paid to do this as well,
Yeah.
bear in mind, so airing out your dirty laundry.
Yeah.
So he says, like Longfellow's girl with a curl, when we are good, we are very, very good. When we are bad, we are horrid. In this sense, hitched or no, we enjoy the traditional British relationship. But what if we could leave our differences behind us, learn, grow and transcend to become a fully functional heterosexual unit? Very scientific language. Terence last week presented me with the American psychologists John and Judy Gottman's week-long divorce-proof your marriage project. Presumably the plan also works for us living in sin. Accordingly, we'll be the first Brits to put the Gottman prescription to the test. Over 7 days, we'll ask you to learn 7 new habits. They'll be easy, quick and fun. All you need is the willingness to try. So these 7 habits are: Day 1, make contact. Day 2, ask a big question. Day 3, say thank you. Day 4, give a real and genuine compliment. Day 5, ask for what you need from the other person. Day 6, engage in non-intimate touching, so just like hugging and stuff. And day 7, make a date night. So does any of that sound particularly controversial or difficult?
No, not at all.
So she hates this all the way through and documents each day, right? Day 1, Monday, involves turning towards. When one person attempts to initiate a small connection by making a bid, it could be physical or verbal, overt or subtle, then their partner responds in one of 3 ways. They turn towards that bid, turn away, or turn against it. And his example is, you know, like the other day when you joked about when my friend Tom was my gay lover, telling me you'd be fine with it without even looking up from your laptop. She says, what, I should have made eye contact? And he goes, exactly. The Gottmans are my people. I've been begging for connection for years. That's kind of sad. Like you're belittling him and insulting him as saying, "Oh, I bet you're gay, aren't you? You're cheating on me, aren't you?" And you don't even look up from your laptop when you were degrading, and he's saying, "Can I just have a conversation and look at you while you insult me?"
Yeah.
So I wonder if she's contributing to the demolition. She says, he does tend to lurk around my study door, furtively hoping to gain access, while I shout no and press on with my work. This is an ominous sign. According to Gottman figures, couples who go on to divorce respond to their partner's bids for connection 33% of the time, while those who remain together turn towards each other 86% of the time. The 12 hours of turning that ensue are interminable. Terence forever twinkling his eyes at me, in initiating regulation 6-second snogs and pressing his clammy forehead against mine by way of dropping coins in our love piggy bank. It's like going out with a needy 14-year-old girl, flipping him the bird deemed a negative turning only. Finally, beaten, I agreed to sit head to toe with him on the sofa, hound in the middle, maintaining physical contact with them both. I continue to scream in horror every time I look up and catch him gazing concertedly back at me. She got paid to write this, and they posed for photos after they wrote it.
Can I just say, Terence, if you're watching, that's the name of my late husband.
Yeah.
Leave.
Run, mate.
Leave.
You can
Run.
do better.
Just run. Do you know something? When I was listening to that, I was like, this isn't a this is a hostage situation. Genuinely, it's like, because my darling husband Terence, from day, he always used to walk on the traffic side of the road.
I do that. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And actually, I'd sort of go, and when I first met him, I was a bit like, oh no, why are you doing that? He said, because if a van comes,
Yeah, it hits me first. Yeah.
you're toast basically. And also, if we were staying somewhere, he would go on the my darling Terence would go on the door side, and I used to go, why are you sleep on that side? He said, because if somebody just happened to break in,
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah, I sleep on the outside of the bed.
If
so-
you're on the other side,
Yeah.
it's like, oh my god.
Yes.
So he was absolutely, just like.
Yeah, but that's how you should think.
Yeah.
But then
Put me first.
I would also say that then she is taking advantage of this by treating him with utter contempt when he seems genuinely concerned.
Yeah, and being a complete bitch. So if you're making
Put
a
it
joke
mildly.
about you know, making a joke about could you be gay? I mean, the fact that she just literally didn't even look up to have a joking sort of like, oh, don't worry, I'm only ribbing you. That suggests that actually, I mean, how long have they been together for?
It's 8 years.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
8 wasted years,
Yeah, it's
Terence.
contempt, yeah. But you can still get out, she can't. By the way, they don't have any kids. So
Right.
So yeah.
Well, even more reason, just go.
Yeah.
Find someone.
Find a nicer woman.
Yeah, find a nicer woman who will sort of like look at you when she's accusing you of being gay.
And who also doesn't make money putting your miserable relationship out on the internet. It's madness.
Just so awful.
So day 2,
God.
Tuesday, still only day 2, and we're
She's
required.
still there?
Yeah.
Bloody
Hasn't killed her yet. We're required to ask a big question. Please God no, I catch myself musing as I spot Terence limbering up for some particularly platitudinous profundities. What are your life dreams, he demands, direct from the government inventory. I inform him that being English, I choose not to admit these things to myself, let alone other people. So it's an entirely internalised issue. She's taking it on him. All right, he replies, if you could transform yourself into an animal for 24 hours, which would you choose? It's a black panther. Okay, if you wake up tomorrow with 3 new skills, what would you pick? And you can see how he's doing like these first date style fun questions, which are actually quite good.
Yeah.
And she responds with, we proceed to have an argument about why flight is inadmissible and his proposed ability to invoice not only dull but controlling.
Oh my God.
Psycho.
If
Absolute
she's
psycho.
an animal, she's a cobra. She's a she's a scorpion.
Viper.
Yeah.
Day 3,
God.
72 hours into future-proofing our relationship. Said relationship is at breaking point. Wednesday's obligation to say thank you, aka turn yourself insufferably American, has escalated to the point of toe-curling sincerity, Terence, and blistering facetiousness, me. Apparently, couples are generally nice to each other. It's just that 50% of the time, their other halves focus on the negative rather than the positive. There is more than an element of truth to this. My obsessive focus is the apocalyptic chaos that Terence creates. A pool of festering dirt and debris he drags in his wake, forcing me into a 50s housewife mode. Meanwhile, he frets at my lack of financial responsibility. We in old age supporting each other, another pensioner with a Claridge's habit and only a Hermes scarf collection to her name. So he might be right about your financial irresponsibility.
Yeah.
And while all the while, both of us are working our backsides off to keep the domestic show on the road. Day 4. And yet, today is another assignment. To follow each other around with notepads recording every positive thing the other does is the straw that breaks the belligerent 50-year-old camel's back. The day starts with the discovery of a note expressing gratitude for the, quote, very unus of being you next to the kettle. A little bit cheesy, but still he's trying. An act that is simply too ghastly to contemplate before the day's protective caffeine shell has been established. Worse so, nauseatingly in this project, is that Terence has got himself ahead and started incorporating Thursday's behaviours, giving compliments, and Saturday's non-sexual touch into his repertoire. So he's hugging you and saying you look nice. Oh, the horror.
Oh dear, Terence.
There are few things that repulse me more. The dog howls, whipped into a green-eyed frenzy. I feel utterly claustrophobic, stalked in my own home by a life partner turned dodgy uncle.
She's a psychopath.
Yeah.
She's mentally ill.
So they make it to day 5. I flash forward and ask what I need, since we all have valid desires. But we don't say them, we drop hints, we suggest. We hope our partners will just know. Terence, I announce, we need to stop doing this anti-divorce course. It is destroying me and thus us. We then set up a date fortress, Sunday's task, which Terence takes to be some sort of boys' own adventure-style den. So we made a pillow fort for them, which sounds quite fun.
Yeah.
Childish, but fun.
Yeah.
And I understand to be a hot date with a Michelin star. So she went to a restaurant alone and left him indoors.
Oh my God, when they could have just had great fun.
Yeah.
Being like, sort of being kids, being childish,
Yeah.
and whatever. Do you know something? I've just, I haven't just remembered because obviously it's in a lot in my head. But my husband Terence used to leave me little notes if I was coming to London because we lived in Durham.
Yeah.
I'd sort of leave and then open my wallet and go to pay for something, and then there it would be, and he'd always do like a little cartoon of
That's
him, and really gorgeous. So it's like those things. They're, I mean, she clearly, they shouldn't be together.
Yeah.
That's my advice.
Well, she seems to suggest that in the final paragraph.
Yeah,
In
she
fact,
say.
it's just more bloody talking, yet another investment in our mutual future, a future looking less likely by the second. I pled for us to sleep together in sense, silently without eye contact or gratitude regarding the other's performance. Have we grown? Terence has grown significantly creepier. Are we still together? Just. Again, she got paid to publish and write this.
No eye contact.
Yeah.
That's
Nothing says intimacy, like don't look at me.
Don't look at me.
Yeah, while I call you gay from over the rim of my laptop.
And then hold up like an East German judge
Yeah.
at the end of like a scorecard. That was disgraceful. Do never go in. I was going to say something very rude then.
Yep.
And I stopped myself.
We're learning and growing on the podcast.
We are learning
she
and
clearly
growing.
isn't. So,
Yeah.
just a little detour. This does remind me of a segment Carl did a little while ago, and it was talking about Katie Glass's articles, and basically a single woman who documented her post-divorce venture out into the countryside and to telegraph, and how she, childless and spinster, could not fit her way into a Cornish community because she was an outsider, because she was clearly part of the London bubble. And it's like, ladies, you may want to be able to establish an emotional connection with someone, dismantle yourself of your ego, don't always chase the vapid dream of doing social media or writing, and instead settle down with someone in the short time that we're given. This didn't play out for another woman in The Guardian. We'll finish on this.
Of course.
Why did this young man have such a hold on me? How dating someone half my age rebooted my sex life. Nothing says maturity like that. So she's complaining about how she lived in California for a decade, moved back to Britain in 2018, and no man talked to her because she hit nearly middle age, and her attention dropped off the map shortly after her divorce. The move to London was preceded by Donald Trump being elected to office around the time my divorce was filed, around the time I turned 40. His disgust at middle-aged women and the palpable loathing he and his wife exuded when pictured together alchemized a feeling I'd been marinating. Having been sexually active since the age of 16, which is sad, I wanted to walk away from it all. So, from the moment Trump was inaugurated, I'd stopped having sex, like some kind of Democrat Lysistrata, and kissing and holding hands, and swore not to relent until he was gone. So you've politicised your sex life and wondered why you couldn't foster an intimate connection. And throughout this, she talks about her ex-husband, who's also a Guardian writer, and she talks about him with sheer contempt. So when she comes back to the UK, her friends convinced her to join a dating app. When she first joined it, she had an image of herself accidentally from 20 years ago, and some man in East London called her up on it and said she was a catfish, and so she deleted the app. And when she did an updated version, a younger gentleman who set his age parameters a little higher said he was surprised to find that I'd eluded his settings. I'll call him Q in this. She says he was clever, fussy, English. He made him smile and sometimes laugh. I liked his profile picture a lot because he was standing behind a horse. And her ex-husband decided to say, clever man, he's saying he's got horse-like features.
Yes.
Yeah. So she said, first date, when he opened the door, he looked displeased to see me, and I thought, F you, now I'm going to kiss you. An F you kiss is very different from a hate F. It's a means of taking control of a situation, not dissimilar to directing. Right, so you misperceived him as being contemptuous, and you thought, right, I'm going to be very sexually forward in order to dominate you. Do you not think, while politicising and interjecting power dynamics into your relationship, it might have been derailed in that way?
Yeah.
Again, ladies, don't take modern feminist dating advice.
Also, don't live in California.
Yeah,
ever.
That's what most Californians are thinking now,
because
hemorrhaging to Texas.
I can hear all the California stuff in her, in everything. Like, I gave you an F-U kiss, or like a kiss F, whatever. It's like, what is that?
Yeah.
What happened? Just good old-fashioned snogging.
Yeah, crass
you know what I mean?
inflection, yeah. So she then returns home after a night of, well, shame, and she ends up getting dressed to go out on another date, and her daughter turns to her and said, you look horrible, and you smell bad, and she's going, thanks, cool, and you're a very bad writer. The children at school all laugh at your terrible writing.
I love kids.
Base daughter. I was touched by how much she knew my writing matters to me, and it's like, well, actually there's kind of a tinge of sadness here, because the only way her daughter seems to interact with her is by insulting her mum because she feels neglected because her mum's going out on a series of one-night stands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, when you said daughter, I was like, she's got a daughter?
Yeah.
That was the bit that shocked me.
Yeah. Well, she says...
God.
Single motherhood's very difficult. So, skipping forward in this article, she basically says she keeps going out with this guy called Q, and then she realises he's emotionally unavailable. It's because she put out on the first night. She is much older than he is, so he's clearly using her for accessible practice. So again, ladies, don't do this to yourselves. I felt very sad once I accepted that I was falling in love with Q and he was not particularly available to me. So I did what men often do when they're overwhelmed by the feeling of being blown away by a woman. They have a one-night stand with someone new. Oh, you cheat. Great. Well done. So she goes on a date to the Karl Marx Memorial at Highgate Cemetery.
Oh, wonderful.
Guardian writer.
What a great day out that is.
Yeah. And she said afterwards, we could only make it to the first landing before falling into each other. Single motherhood is often hard and sometimes sad. I wonder if you contributed to the situation. And it was an enormous relief to be devoured. I think it was because he was so hungry it spilled over, and the night and morning I was with him, I wanted to cook for him, which I never want to do, as cooking is tied to implications of being a domestic failure and the inability to be an obedient and successful housewife.
Was that in Highgate Cemetery they did it?
No, they went...
I was going to say, I've had some experiences, but...
settings. But I wanted to draw attention to that final part there is basically just admitting, yeah, I do have a biological drive to settle down, to have a wholesome family, to cook for my husband, to just be nice. And so don't
Yeah.
pathologise the ability of a man to protect and provide for you.
Yeah.
Have higher standards for the men you get intimate with, and then you won't feel as concerned about being walked out on. You might actually have a wholesome relationship. So, ladies, don't take middle-class paper dating advice.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but lefty women are very unattractive. Am I right in saying that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. There's just something about they take themselves too seriously. I
Yeah.
think as well.
There's a physiognomy spillover, though. They
Yeah.
have been
That would've-
they have been relentlessly posting about how they find right wingers very attractive, and well,
And there's an upside because
Yeah.
you're thinking, hang on a minute.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as the Comics Corner series, Frank Miller, The Dark Knight Returns being the first episode. And if you'd like to find out what else Harry's putting out, you can follow him on Getter at Harry Lotus Eater on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.